There's been too much drinking, and then I all of a sudden I'm like, put on Whitney, I got this. As I build community well. Yeah, so I went to all 7 continents by 30. That was my goal. That was a wild ride. Broke funding records on Kickstarter, 70 countries of distribution. How much of my life I spent looking for my path, breathe the entrepreneurial mindset into corporate. I don't even know how to
Had,
answer that. Yeah,
I know,
I'm still
right?
alive.
I was thinking about it. I was like, is it 10 years? Or is it more?
Yeah, I think more.
More. Far out.
Yeah, I
That
think it's
explains
12.
all these grey hairs then.
Right, right. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
How are
It's
you?
been what's that?
You've been to Australia and back, right?
I God, yes. So the house that you came and visited me in when we were doing all the stuff,
Yeah.
we sold that house, made a chunk.
Oh,
Then we were like, oh, let's go. My wife was like, let's go do some, live wherever we want. Then she was like, I really want the kids to go live in Australia. And I don't know if you remember, but I have an adopted son. So then
yeah.
to get his visa, get his citizenship, he had to live there for 4 years.
Oh, oh,
So we
wow.
went there. Yeah, I know, which sucks. It's terrible. I think it's changed now, but it was terrible at the time. And so we moved there. COVID happened while we were there.
Oh,
And then my wife was like, if I can't visit my family, I want to be close to them if this ever happens again.
yeah.
And so then we moved back, which has been great and horrendous at the same time. Not
Yeah,
horrendous, I'm being dramatic.
right. Did you think you were gonna move there forever?
Yeah, we thought we were there forever.
Oh, oh,
Well,
yeah. I'm
and it
sorry
was
to hear
back
that.
in my hometown. Like I'm as you know, I'm a little bit crude and all like that. Like, but all my Australian friends are all that same sort of like dress a bit funky, and like all that sort of stuff. So back there, I was just like straight in to
No,
back to normal. And here I
yeah.
stick out like a sore thumb. Like, no, all good. I don't mind the attention.
Yeah, right. We like you.
Where are you? So you're. Well, we'll get into this part, but 10 years. Have you? You were traveling a lot when we were there. Like you went to Antarctica and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What else have you been doing?
Yeah, so I went to all 7 continents by 30. That was my goal. And
Wow.
then I did the startup thing. After Punchkeeper, I did consulting for a year at like a traditional firm, and it sucked like the juice out of my eyeballs.
Yeah.
um, and then I ended up being brought into a team doing a sous vide cooking device, which is like
Yeah.
a hardware device everybody
Yeah.
knows now, but back then it was like we were the first sort of home chef version of a sous vide device on the market. So
Okay.
that was a wild
Wow.
ride. Like broke funding records on Kickstarter, 70 countries of distribution, major
Wow.
retailers, like all around the world from a business perspective. And it was so much fun. Um,
That
and
is crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it was wild ride. So that was like pure startup life, like karaoke, like, crazy hours and travel and just solving hard problems and not enough hours in the day. It was really fun.
Yeah. So
Um,
what were you doing for them?
so I was a co-founder and a chief operating officer. But really, when we first started, I was the only business person. So it was like
Oh,
I partnered with like a food scientist and sort of a traditional engineer, and I was sort of like, oh yeah, just make the business part work, which was like, global manufacturing and logistics and
holy shit.
major retail partnership negotiations and all that stuff. It's pretty
Yep.
wild.
That is wild. And then it took off like it's out in the
Yeah.
world, like killing it now.
No, no, it took off and then it died. It just
Oh
got to be,
no.
it got to be really, all the other competitors kind of caught up. And we were a small team and we never got any funding. We never, went that route. So it was like,
Oh, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
doesn't it? Yeah, I know. One of these days I'm going to
Yeah.
do it the normal person way. But I mean, we're
Yeah.
making enough revenue to pay for everything. It was just that our competitors
Yeah.
had really, really deep pockets. And then, there was some sort of, um, we spent some of our time just trying to align on the same mission. And, it's like you're all squabbling here, and then it's like your competitors are just slowly off to the races.
Yeah.
But I learned a ton. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And then
That's
I took
amazing.
like, yeah, it was really cool. And then I took like a normal grown-up job at Expedia for a few years. I don't
Yeah.
know. Am I being too resume? Is this like too job interview-esque?
No, 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 no. So like, well, we're shooting the shit now, but like, I've got 10 questions that we go through,
Oh, okay.
but I'm loving this. Like, I think,
Okay.
like, even I'll probably keep this in, and then
Yeah.
we'll like dig in. There's a part where we dig into that stuff a little bit as well.
Okay.
So, but you're at Expedia,
Yeah.
and what were you doing there?
It was a really cool job. I was doing like, I basically helped breathe the entrepreneurial mindset into corporate. And so I built
Oh
out
wow.
some trainings for this thing I called career empowerment, and I got to go all around the world with that.
Yeah.
So like Singapore
Yeah.
and France, and
No
it was so
way.
much fun all over the place.
So that would have been like almost like your dream job.
Yeah, for a bit it was like really really dreamy. I had to talk about stuff that I was passionate about, and people were excited, and
Yep.
you know, cool travel. I still love travel, but
Yep.
it's like at some point there I got married, and then I have a 2-year-old
What?
now. I know, I'm like a grown up
What?
almost. I know, isn't that crazy?
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, he's gonna be 2 in like 2 weeks. And so like
No way.
now,
That's so cool.
yeah, yeah, and travel's just totally different now. Like when I think about travel,
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
little bit like, oh, that's
Now,
so hard. It's so hard.
I, I feel you on that. I've traveled to
Right?
Australia with a bunch of small kids a few times, and you're like, yeah, we're killing it. Oh, no, we've still got 6 hours left. So,
Yeah, yeah. What do you even do? Like my kid will not sleep on a plane. That's not a thing.
uh, there's a lot of TV, a lot of trying to entertain. Then they do fall asleep out of exhaustion for
Hmm.
like, it's a long time. So luckily, my
Yeah,
wife's pretty good at that. I'm more the fun person, so I'll get there, do the fun stuff, and like
yeah. I want to be the
figure
fun
out some of the
person.
technology stuff. But they all want
Yeah,
her. So like, there'll be a time where we have like a full row to ourselves, like four,
yes.
and there'll be two children on her and like a seat and a half empty, and I'll be like, okay, I'm just sitting here.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
they're
I
older
gotta,
now,
I
so
gotta channel that.
they get to figure it out themselves a little bit more. 12
Yeah.
and
How old?
almost
How old are
9.
they now?
12 and turning 9 on Saturday.
What? Holy cow.
I know,
Okay. Yeah,
right?
it has really been a minute.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It has.
Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations. Where'd you get married? Like, were you around here?
Oh my God. I had one of those COVID weddings where like I planned the whole thing. I
Oh,
was marrying into an Indian family, so it was like we were gonna have a small
okay.
gathering of 250 people. And I had
Yeah,
to
yeah. My friend,
unplan
I've
and
been to an Indian wedding. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And like they were like, okay, like a tiny intimate affair. And I was like, no, that's ginormous. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, we were planning this big thing, and I had to go back and call like florists and be like, hey, can I have my money back? COVID. And they're like, they write
Yeah.
those contracts like never in any situation like lightning can strike you from God and you have to still pay for the flowers. So
It's
like we
crazy.
had a 8-person wedding on a small island that I grew up like kayaking to called Hope Island in the
Oh,
Sound.
wow.
We took a seaplane from Alderbrook there, did the vows, and then had this nice dinner at Alderbrook. So, I mean, it was like more my style in the end, but I still
Yeah.
have flower budget. Like, I still have hundreds of dollars to spend on flowers. Like,
Oh, do you just have
just
flowers
for my.
delivered to you now? Like,
I should. I should. I really should. I don't know. I don't. Yeah. And we had 2 photographers for 8 people. Like, it was insane.
you got so many close-ups. You're like, you
Yeah.
could do one of those 3D camera shots.
Yeah, right, right. They were really good, but it was like, okay, that's not the way that I would have spent money if I would have known it was going to be that way.
Yeah. Do you know what? Even with my wedding, I look back and I'm like I was lucky enough. My father-in-law paid for it, but
Hmm.
I was like, there's no way. Like I would just have done something small, like either have him keep that money or like use that for something else. Like I don't
Yeah.
look at my wedding albums ever. The
Yeah.
DVD to our wedding, no idea where it is. No idea.
And how
Like,
would you even play that? Like, like
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
crazy.
So,
I know. It's you get so caught up though.
yeah,
Even
but
I was pretty anti, and it was still like, oh, but I gotta have the good flowers. You know, it's like
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah. I even wore Vans to mine and people were like, that's crazy. What are you doing? Like, you can't do that. And now, like, I see people doing it, and I'm like, oh, that's normal now. But I was like, I wanted to go even like different. And I was like, no, no, no. This is what like uh, a traditional American family sort of does. Like, and so I was like, let's ride this wave, and I'll put some little adjustments. And I literally, my wife and I, were moving all our stuff into this remodel we just did.
Oof.
Part of our house, and so we're pulling out all the artwork. And there was this one where I drew this picture of her and I for like the wedding, and I was like, ugh, what the fuck is that drawing? Like, who did this? And I was
Really?
like, oh shit, yeah, it was so bad. Like, why would I put this up at my wedding? But anyway,
Oh, well, maybe that means that you've gotten a lot better in the last couple of years.
I would like to think I have gotten a little bit better from that.
I was
But
looking at your stuff. Obviously, like you asked me to be on this thing, and I'm like, what is this
yeah,
thing? And it's really cool. Yeah, you're
yeah.
doing great work. It's so neat. Very
Thank you.
talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, I like to talk, and I I I love to draw. But one of the things I realized, especially in this, I just love learning about people, and I've
Yeah.
been watching you from afar, like with like LinkedIn and stuff like that, and seeing what you're sort of doing, and I'm like, oh man, that's cool. Like, and then I was like, you know what? It'd be really fun to have her on, and then we can shoot the shit about where Punchkeeper was, but then also about
Yeah.
where you are now and how that sort of stuff is, and your take on the
So
world at
fun.
this point in your life.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so honored.
Yeah, it's awesome. Do you want to jump into some questions?
Yeah, lay it on me.
All right, here we go. Breathe underwater or fly?
Um, I choose breathe underwater. I'm a scuba diver, and so it'd be nice to
Oh,
do it without any of the like junk,
contraptions.
just be totally
Yeah,
free. Yeah.
yeah. Where's your favorite place you've scuba dived?
It's been a minute. Like that's the downside of adulting is that it's like I used to complain about how like, oh, the Caribbean again, this is so annoying. And now I'm like, ah, the Caribbean sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Um, my favorite dive is probably still one of my first. My dad, like when I was graduating college, he was like, sign up for scuba diving lessons. We're gonna go to Belize. You're gonna do this
oh
like week
wow.
long in this island called Turnif Flats, and you'll wake up every morning and that's what you do all day. And I was like, well, I hope I
Wow.
like it first of all, which was
Uh,
questionable. I was like, I'm not sure that I do like this.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but it was like this really remote, cool island, and it just there was a point in there where it clicked, and I was like, oh, this feels really good.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and I get that still sometimes, and it takes a little bit to ramp up to, but like it always reminds me of that first time of feeling like just so free.
What sort of animals were you seeing there? Like, is it just all fish? Is it like coral?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, all that stuff. There were sharks, and I've seen manta rays and cool
dang.
like sort of smaller sharks. My favorite though are like the little guys, the tiny little fish that are defending their reef, and they'll
Yeah,
come up
yeah.
to you and be like, what, and like try to scare you off, and they're like an inch long, and
So
it's
they're
like,
like little vows. What you're saying?
yeah, yeah, just scrappy little fish, valfish.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah,
That's a
so fun.
I've done a little bit of snorkeling. I have not done any scuba diving, but there's been times where I've been out surfing and
Yeah.
like a dolphin has like zoomed by me and I've like shat myself
Oh,
and thought it was a shark.
yeah, of
Now
course.
I can't imagine what it'd be like if I was scuba diving and that happened because I feel like I'd be uh, like feel less like I can't get out of the water. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, well,
Have
just so you know, you're screwed either way with you at the surfboard too.
yeah,
And you just look like a wounded seal up there, you're just
yeah. I do.
paddling.
I do think of that, but luckily, it was only a dolphin. I've never seen a shark other than like
Yeah.
catching a little shark when I was fishing or something like that. But I've never
Yeah.
seen a shark out surfing.
Gosh, Australia is so scary for that, but so cool.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
got
it's less scary actually. I think it's way less scary because you can see everything around you, and the sharks don't really care. Like there aren't,
yeah,
I don't know what the numbers are, but it's very, very rare that anything would attack you underwater. They're just
yeah.
sort of like,
That's
look
what.
at that weird fish, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I might. I well, yeah. I guess if they're hungry or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I. It's sad, but I've known like from my old hometown, like two people that have passed away from shark attacks.
What?
But I've never seen a shark, and like, but the likelihood of shark attacks is so small. Like I tell people all the time here, I'm like, oh, you're more likely to get like people get killed by bees more than they do by sharks, but we're not
Right.
freaking out about bees, you know what I mean? Or cows, like farms and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think it's just so
Wow.
gruesome.
Were
But
they
I
were they
think,
surfing?
yeah, both of them were, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely known where I am for like great white sort of cruising up and down, and
Yeah.
tiger sharks. I think so. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever been far enough out where a shark's going like, you know what? Or maybe they're just like, there's not enough. Maybe there's more meat on my bones now, but maybe back then they're like, what's that? That's like a toothpick. I can't eat that. Get stuck in
Yeah,
my
right.
teeth.
Just waste my time. Yeah.
uh, what do you do to pay the bills now?
I do two things. I teach at University of Washington, that really cool creating a company class, and then
Yeah.
I have a new venture consulting firm. That's kind of my side, and those two sort of add up to a cool career mostly.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you're a mum as well, right? So then you're like
Yeah.
juggling that.
Yeah, that's mostly just like bottom of the food chain. I'm like the janitor and the housekeeper, like person who brings the
I
food.
I'm in the moment where I'm just a chauffeur and the ball thrower. So my kid's really
Oh
into
yeah.
baseball, so I just like chauffeur. I literally we drove up to the mountains last night, and it was so bad because it was just pouring rain. And then we just
Oh,
drove
you're
back
so
because we
wet.
were like we didn't want to be wet. So I was like I just chauffeured him up and down. And then
Oh
the
my
day
gosh.
before I was just throwing balls. So that
Yeah,
just
I'm
gets
scared.
becomes like some sort of like maintenance for them. You know what I mean? Whatever you're doing, whether you're cleaning the floors or whether you're like just doing the ball throwing,
That's
just
just
there to
assumed.
entertain them until they can do something on their own.
Yeah. I'm scared.
Uh,
I'm pretty sure my kid's gonna like baseball and it's like it just seems like so much driving to games and like I hate baseball.
this is so I thought it was going to be like it's a lot of driving to games, but that's not the worst part for me.
Oh
It's
really?
the parents in little league. It's and they're not
Yeah.
mean. They're just some of the dads are just so
Crazy.
obsessed with it. Like they'll talk about it. You'll be at a party with no kids, and they're talking about little league, and I'm like,
No.
come
Yeah,
on,
no.
like, yeah,
No, no
like
more.
give me another
Oh.
conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I
That's
hear enough
hard.
about it from my kid. I don't want to hear any more from these adults who might
Yeah.
have a better opinion on something else.
I think that's true. It's
But
easy as a parent to get caught up in just being really boring and be like, "Oh, hey, what are you serving for this? And how are you addressing that?" And like, it's good. It's
yeah,
like talking shop is helpful, but it's also like, "Oh, let's just not let this be our full identity, like our brains, 100% of the
yeah,
time. It's not good."
I feel you. It's so hard because the kids take so much of the time, so you can be like caught up. Even my wife and I will sometimes sit on the couch and we're like end up chatting about the kids, and I was like, "Oh no, stop! We just put those fuckers to bed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else." Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it's also like you don't get enough time to do the other stuff. So it's like, what do you want to talk about?
yeah, yeah, I feel you. Like we're doing right now. Anyway, so I
Yeah.
wanted to get back. So you got
Oh
your
my gosh.
consulting.
Yeah.
Uh, so what are you consulting there? And then I want to chat about your classes.
Yeah.
So how do you get clients? Is this word of mouth? Are you advertising? And then what do you provide as a consulting?
It's mostly word of mouth. To be honest, I got really spoiled in COVID. It was like clients just landed on my lap, like big ones, like
Oh,
Fortune 500 clients.
oh
And I
wow.
was, yeah, and like the kind of stuff that I got to work on was, like really cool. Like working with R&D teams and adding a business lens to ideas about what we're building for the next 5 years in terms of like, you know,
Wow.
XR and just really fun, like entrepreneurship within a big company and helping escort that along. But I
That's
learned so much
cool.
and it was so cool. And in the back of my mind, I was like, it's so easy, and it's sort of sneaky. Like I didn't know it'd be this easy, but I don't really know how I would build this if people didn't just hand it to me. And
Yeah.
then, fast forward, I went on maternity leave, and then the whole tech valuation, I don't even know what we're calling it, but like tech valuations readjusted the economy, and it's
Yeah.
very hard to get a client. I work very hard. I spend most of my time networking. Um, and
Wow.
so it's like I really got to hustle, and I'm working on kind of weird stuff, like smaller projects or like international companies that are trying to move to the American market, with something
Mm.
totally non-tech related. So I don't know. I'm kind of following the curiosity and finding the open spaces, but it's been a weird journey.
That is it's so tough to think of trying to network to get into these little niches because I feel like a lot of that stuff is I know somebody
Yeah.
and like the networking's the more powerful part than the actual like even not that I don't like not saying the skill set doesn't matter because once you're in there that's what will matter but that connection make almost means more than what your skill set is, you know what I mean? Oh, I know a guy that can do that,
Hugely.
mate, bring him in.
Well, yeah, and I bring in other people to supplement. So it's like,
Yep.
oh yeah, you want me to work on that thing that I probably don't know that well? No problem. I know enough
Yep.
about it to bring in somebody who's really good, and then I'll do my part and they'll do their part. So like the only thing that really matters is the ability to get clients.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are clients that are just not like I would never take a like an accounting project. So that would not be a good use of my brain. I am not good at it. And, like I would be like, I don't know. It seems like they're doing a good job. I only take on stuff that like I know that I can add a lot of value,
Yeah.
and think through it. And then I can bring in experts in certain little niches.
So I have a question on that.
Yeah.
How do you know what you don't know when you're pitching to a client or like you're trying to land a client? Because I feel like that would be the hard part. And I remember even when I've pitched to people like about design or stuff like that, like I'm like, but I don't know what you're gonna need
Yeah.
past this initial meeting, and you're trying to get me to give you like a proposition or like a
Oh,
some
yeah.
sort of budget.
Oh, I hate that. That
Yeah,
is the hardest part. And you're always just trying to get to like, okay, but also how many meetings are you going to just want to have just to
yeah,
like talk about it in addition to actually getting it done. You
yeah.
just get better at it by, things start to look familiar. You're like, oh yeah, I've seen this, probably estimate
Okay.
this. I always aim a little bit low, so I have to like remember that about myself and be like, you gotta assume that it's probably another 10% more than that.
Yeah.
And it's always better to, under promise and over deliver. I think that's people
I
get
love
less
that. I love that saying. I
right,
try to
and
do
it's
that as
so
well.
it's hard to do because you want to promise everything, but it's like, okay, what if I went under budget for this? How exciting would you be versus me being like exactly on budget, but I'm crazy?
Yeah, yeah. uh, the so I always think of like we've got contractors working on the house, and they always overpromise, underdeliver. Like
Yeah.
every contractor I've ever worked with,
Yep.
and I'm just like, I kind of wish I had the balls or the audacity to be able to sort of do that and be like, yeah, 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 we're gonna do all this stuff, and
Yeah.
then just under deliver and just be like, nailed it, I'm out, see you later.
Yeah.
I just say,
Oh, did you want to live there? Sorry, not for another 3 months.
oh yeah, yeah, you don't want to be in there for another year, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they have a lot of power. Versus me, I never have that kind of power. Not
What
yet.
would be
Who knows?
your? Do you have a dream client? Do you have one that you're shooting the stars for? Or
It's always the same. I want to work with cool people and cool things. Where it's like I
mm,
want to do things that it's not like I need to, you know, land on Jupiter, but it's like I want to do stuff that is hard, and interesting because people haven't done it yet.
yeah,
Um, and I like kind of imagining the spaces that haven't been figured out. And it doesn't
mm,
really even matter within there, like what we're even talking about. But I just like to
yeah,
work on new things, and I like to work with people who are kind and interesting and thoughtful.
Yeah.
Which is like what I just described is really vague and like it seems like of course you want to work with cool people and cool projects, but it's like that's a very high bar.
I was literally just about to say, well, I feel like that's everyone, right? They just want to work on cool things with cool people.
Oh yeah. But I really do. Like I fight so hard to try to only end up working on cool stuff. Not because I want to be
That's
cool, but
awesome.
just like I'm not very
Well,
good
it's
at the
like a mental
mundane.
thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I need
I
the
feel you.
like
I feel you.
yeah, to me the definition of winning is getting paid to learn. And that's always what I'm aiming for.
I fucking agree. I also sometimes go, why do I always take on projects where I have to keep fucking learning?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
like I'm always like learning the podcast, learning to do all this, and I'm like, why, Matt? Why? Just do something
Why?
that you can just knock out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not
uh,
part of the DNA.
and then I like, no, no, I feel you on that. Okay, um, what are you teaching at the University of Washington?
Yeah, it's the coolest class in the world. It's called Creating a Company, and these students take the class and they don't have an idea, they don't have a team, but they pull together those things and a business idea and they pitch to real investors. They get real money, and then they have to become profitable. And that's from like 0 to 60 is 6 months. So like they don't have an idea 6 months ago, and now they're profitable.
Holy shit,
Yeah,
that's
it's so
cool.
cool.
That's fucking cool.
It's so cool. It's sort of a rapid aging process, right? Like I take like a 21-year-old, and they're used to a lot of, academia. I think one of my complaints about it is that it can be a little bit too like hand-holdy and rigid, and like you don't actually prepare for the real world because you haven't been able to think for yourself really. And in
Yeah,
this case, it's like the walls are down, and you have to manage your own time. And you have to think about what success looks like for you and build it. And I help and I bring in really incredible people to help me help, but they're kind of on their own. It's really cool.
that's so. So you're basically like, I just set it up, and then the class, you don't have to teach. You're just like, go on, you're on your own. If you fail, that's your
It's,
fail, not mine.
well, it is a little
I'm just
bit.
kidding.
There's a little bit of support in there, but
Of course, of course.
it's yeah, it's a lot more freedom than they're used to. I'll say that.
Yeah. So, how did you get involved in this? Is this from when you were going to school there, or when we went? What was the that
The
competition
business
that we
plan
went through at
competition.
Punchkeeper?
Yeah. So I was taking a class at that time during Punchkeeper from a guy named John Castle for my MBA,
Yep.
and then he also taught this class at UW for undergrads. And so he saw me all like lit up about Punchkeeper, and he was like, "Come over and be a judge for my class, for my." And then it became be a guest speaker and a judge. And then when he retired, another friend, now friend, Alan, took over, and I said, "Hey, can I keep judging and being a guest speaker?" And a couple of years passed, and then they brought me in full time. Well, not full time, like a full class.
That's so awesome. So,
Yeah.
how? What was your like? So I didn't go to college. That's why I'm an idiot. But
No, not at all.
because you knew your like classes, like, or how did you? This feels like a setting a class up like this. That's not the normal structure.
Yeah.
Seems like a big thing to sort of set up and sort of pitch an idea. Was this class already set up like that, or did you
Yeah.
come in and create this class?
No, no, you're right. It's very hard, especially if it wasn't like I was already in the university.
Yep.
Yeah, it was around for like 15 years before me. First through that John Castle guy, and then Alan
Yep.
Leong, and now
Oh,
me.
okay.
And there's some other teachers too. So it's like the bank account keeps getting bigger because students are profitable, and then that funds the next year, and then they become profitable, and that funds. So
Oh,
University of
wow.
Washington's really well ranked for entrepreneurship, and it's because of programs like this that are really hard and weird, and they kind of let me
Can
be a weirdo.
that's so rad. One,
Yeah,
can we? I just realized we've said Punchkeeper a bunch, but people don't know what that
yeah,
we're talking about. Do you want to give a spiel from your perspective, and
yeah.
then about
Yeah. Punch
Punchkeeper?
Yeah, Punchkeeper was a digital loyalty app. So buy 9, get the 10th free at your local coffee shop or restaurants. And instead of having to carry around paper punch cards, it was all on your phone utilizing QR codes. And that was at a time when people would scan a QR code just because it was fun to scan a QR code and, like novel and new. And then on the business
Yeah.
side, there was, back end analytics when that wasn't something they had access to yet. So they could sort of plan their business around knowing more about their customer and encouraging loyalty that way. So we launched,
Yeah.
you were the designer, I was the CEO, our buddy John was the engineer, and he built it and you designed it. And I went out there and tried to hustle and get it off the ground. And we did
Yeah.
pretty well, I think. For that was the first business I ever started beyond like lemonade stand. Um, so we
Yeah.
did
I
well in the
think
business
that,
playing competition.
yeah. What did
Yeah.
we come? 16th or something?
We made it through the Sweet 16, but we didn't make it to the top 4. So I'd like to say that we
Oh,
were
okay.
fifth,
That's right.
but we don't know.
I like it. I'll
Yeah,
take
yeah,
that.
why
I'm going
not?
to steal that.
Yeah.
uh, so, the question I have on this, where do you think, because I've got my thoughts, where do you think we fell down as a startup?
I was actually talking about this yesterday, which was kind of random. It's really, really, really hard to sell to the small business owner. It was hard to get in front of them. I would go into the store, I don't know how many times. They'd be like, oh, manager just stepped out. They wouldn't reply to
Yeah,
emails. And then when you got
yeah,
in front of them, it was like, I think we were charging $20 a month or something. And they were like, $20 a month is insane. And then
yeah,
if they did sign up, they would forget to tell their team, or I would come and teach their team. But then, like, there was so much turnover that, sure enough, like, fast forward 2 weeks, the QR codes are somewhere in the back, with the lost and founds.
yeah,
And so it was just really hard to get any
yeah,
traction on that side. And then, meanwhile, all the big
yeah,
players were saying, well, how's your traction with the small guys? And the small guys were like, it's just so chaotic to work with
yeah,
that space. And so I think that was huge. That was a huge piece of it. And it was a little bit early. It was
yeah.
like it was an interesting time.
I, I thought so as well. So, my perspective, I thought that as well. Like, it's hard to get the small people to get it, but you did pretty well about getting it because we had people paying for a while, right?
Yeah, we
And
had stores, and
doing it.
it was like
Yeah,
go. It was just enough to give hope.
yeah. And but one of the things I thought, because I remember when like I came up with the idea, and John and I are sitting around having Columbia Tower Mall or something like that, and we're like, well, I just wish they had we could scan this stuff, and I can't
Yeah.
remember how else it sort of come along. But anyway, uh, I remember now I fucked up my thought. Oh, that's right. I felt like I didn't have from my perspective, not on anyone else, didn't have enough foresight for the future. Like, it was just getting this piece done, and there was no
Hmm.
like to investors and stuff. No, this is where we're going to take it.
A
Like, this is
bigger
the
vision.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's where on my part, I'm not speaking for John and you. That's where the biggest failure was, and then. When we were pitching it around to places, remember there was that weird like Groupon app that we did that
Yep.
interview with?
Yep.
I can't remember what it was. Started with a T.
Groupon.
Tipper? No,
Oh.
no. Was it
Oh.
Groupon? No, it was.
There were a whole bunch.
Yeah, but there was one that was like based in Seattle that was like a side thing of like not Groupon, like a secondary version or anyway.
Yeah.
So we went in there, and a part of me was like, oh dang, we should have said yes to like a smaller amount just to have the experience of growing a startup. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think me as well was like, well, I need this much to make it happen, and like where it should have been like
Uh,
more hungry, like let's jump in, let's see what we can build, let's see what we can do, kind of thing.
yeah. Like
So
maybe get a partnership on the front end.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
I mean, definitely. It was. I learned
and plus
so
I was a
much.
shitty designer back then as well. Like I was an
You were not.
intern doing this.
You were not. It was really good. It was really good. I mean, all of us were learning as we went, and
Yeah.
that's how you learn.
Yeah.
I thought
That's a,
I,
it
I
was
think we did a
actually,
great job.
I personally do as well for what
Yeah.
we were doing, like the nitty gritty, like the guerrilla marketing that we were doing as well,
Yeah.
and that
Oh my
stuff.
gosh.
It was fun.
So much guerrilla marketing. I met somebody at Expedia. I met somebody at Expedia who was like, I don't even know how we started talking about it, but I was like, yeah, I did this Punchkeeper thing. And she's like, oh yeah, I know I saw you up in the window, Punchkeeper at Block Party. And I was like,
Oh
I
yeah,
like literally cut out the letters PUN,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and then put it in the window. I can't believe she remembered that like a decade
That
later.
is crazy.
I know. There was
That
stuff like that that was like, wow, yeah, that was great.
the oh, what was I say? The cookies. I feel
Yeah.
like the cookies did a big, like that was our best marketing thing to do,
Oh yeah.
and punching them out and having Rosie go around and
Yep.
like give them out.
I know. That was, I mean, we did some stuff when we had
Yeah.
QR codes, like, like ghosts holding QR codes and all this
Oh
funny.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. It
god,
was a
I
good time.
forgot about those.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of sort of repressed memories from that time.
We're gonna have to have a therapy session after this, I think.
Yeah, yeah. This is just vodka. No,
Just fun.
it was a lot of fun.
It was a
I'm so
lot of fun.
grateful for Punchkeeper. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, me
I
too.
think I won't ever do a business like that again where I'm selling to a small business is sort of what I would say. But I do think if we could have gotten the right partnership, like remember our competitor was bought by Google,
Yeah,
and it's not
yeah,
like they had any more traction. It was just they were in front of them. It felt like anyway. I
yeah.
don't know.
I agree. And I remember that was like when that happened, we were like, "Here we go," and then it didn't
Yeah,
like the roller coaster
didn't
never
happen.
went. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was too bad.
yeah,
But then
yeah,
Google didn't do anything with it. It is a hard space.
yeah,
Um, it's a like it was always kind of a stepping stone for the point of sale like Apple Wallet kind of world, but it never I still haven't really the best I've seen is the point of sale enter your phone number when you buy a cookie, like I'll get these
yeah,
points from bakeries and stuff, but
yeah.
that's it.
Uh, I pay. Do you pay a lot of stuff with your Apple phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I pay a lot with that, and I think there should be like I should not ever have to like punch in my phone number or anything now. Like if you know that I'm
Yeah.
doing this, they should be back end of like, yep, there's your discount, it's done. I don't want to have to think about it. But still, when I go to QFC, I have to punch in my number. When I go to this, I should have to. But I'm always doing the
Agreed.
same thing with the same card. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
maybe it's a
I feel like
security thing on the back end.
we're like this weird in between technology group. Like we my biggest fear is that at the end of my life, somebody's gonna tell me how much of my life I spent looking for my password and resetting it and then getting another one.
Oh,
Like we're the
that
first
is.
generation where that's and I think they're gonna solve that stuff. I hope. I don't know, but like just scan our eyeballs or something. But for now, like I've spent years of my life searching for passwords, resetting them, going back,
Oh
rebuilding it.
God.
Like
That statistic would be so high for me. My wife gets
right.
so. She's like, "Did you forget our password?" I was like, "Yeah, totally forgot it. Totally forgot it." And then I go change it, and I'm like, "Oh, this is a good one," and I forget that. Like as soon as I hit enter, forgotten.
Yeah,
Like I.
gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
even with like LastPass, I'm always like, I'm not even gonna bother with that one because I don't need it. And then it's like, but here I am.
Yeah.
But I think punch cards are like that. I actually don't ever take any punch cards now. Somebody offers me a punch card, I'm like, I don't participate. Like, it's been like that ever since Punchkeeper. I'm just like, I don't do that.
Yeah. I don't take any punch cards. I'm like, no, I'm never using that. Like.
No.
All right. What is something that you can't live without?
I mean, I feel like there's a right answer where it's like my husband and my
Ah,
kid.
boo.
Yeah,
What?
boo.
I,
Um,
I can't live
I'm
without my wife either, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
for me, it's a
Shout
pencil.
out
Like
to
I could net
Paul and
like.
Ollie. Yeah. Um, I'm a paper and pen gal. It's almost like an extension of the way that I think. I would never go on a trip without a piece of paper and a pen, or like a notebook and a pen.
Yeah.
And that's how I start my week, and that's how I end my week, and
Do you
everything in
journal a
between.
lot?
I try to, yeah. I mean, it comes and it goes. But if I'm ever trying
Yeah.
to make a big decision or work through like I'm being stuck, it's always a paper and a pen.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny is when I do an illustration for you, I will always start out with a pen and a pad. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, not even a pencil, like not to erase. I like have to start with the pen,
Yeah.
and that like I don't know. I think it's maybe just from like years of training of drawing that way. But I always do it at this point. I always do a digital piece because I like
Mhm.
put it up on stuff and other things. But the that process, I can't never just start digitally with the sketch. I have to go and do hard copy.
Yeah, same. It's like there's a lot about a connection between like your hand and your heart that I've heard about. And maybe
Oh
that's
wow!
it. Maybe it's just that we grew up in a, much less digital age and learned these things that way. I
Yeah.
don't know, but I do think there's an actual
Well,
physical connection that helps you sort of
yeah. I
ground
think so
yourself.
as well. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's the for me sometimes even the feel of the pen on the paper, like that
yeah,
little scratch, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that it is a nostalgic thing or something, but it's just like, and I'm like, all right, here I am. I'm in doing this. So,
yeah.
all
It feels
right.
good.
What do you do for fun when you're not with your baby? You're not consulting. You're not teaching. You're not having to high five your husband.
Um, I'm pretty quintessential Pacific Northwest. It's a lot of like stand-up paddleboarding and hiking and cross-country skiing, like basically everything that's cliche about being Pacific Northwest, I do.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Have you always lived here? I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah, I'm from Olympia. So,
Olympia.
like an
Oh,
hour south.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah. That's beautiful down there. I was just down there about a year ago, and I was like down there a baseball tournament, and I was staying there, and I was like, oh, like driving through, I was like, this is actually kind of really nice down here. Like,
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
it's a
down
great
near the
place to be
water there.
from. It's like it's beautiful and it's smart. It's a smart small town where it's like there's
Yeah,
college and government and people have opinions about things and lots of
yeah,
art. I think you'd
yeah,
like
yeah,
Olympia.
yeah. I thought it was nice when I was there for like 16 hours. Like we get there, went to sleep.
Yeah.
I had dinner, went to sleep, and then drove out. But as I was going through, I was like, this is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh, have you picked up pickleball yet?
No, no, I've not. And at this point, I'm starting to feel like I will not. I mean,
Ah, yeah,
I
fair
played
enough.
in PE as a kid. I don't know if you guys grew up with that, but isn't it from
No,
Washington State? I think it was
yeah,
created here,
Bainbridge Island. Oh, I'm
Bainbridge.
addicted. I'm
Are you?
yeah. I haven't skated in a year, but I pickleballed like the shit out of life. Like I've
Really?
yeah, so
Do you have a
much.
spot? Do you have like a court?
They're near my house about a mile, which is the Kirkland Corridor Trail. I can jump on a bike and I can be there quicker than I can drive.
Cool.
And it's like a 3 minute drive, a 3 minute bike ride, and it's like these three courts that are dedicated pickleball courts. And I had no idea. I got a net for my kids and like it paddles, and I was like, you can entertain yourself in the backyard on the grass, you'll be fine. And then my brother-in-law and I, who love ping pong, were like, let's go try it out. And we were like, dink dink, oh, we're addicted. So within a week, we got paddles, new paddles, because the ones we had were shit, and we were just going down there like it did our own like intensive training, just like eating shit for 2 months, and then now we're down there. Like I know nearly everybody's name that comes down there. I'm
Oh yeah.
organizing new squeegees so we can play in winter.
Oh
It's
wow.
yeah. If it was
You're
heroin,
all
I
in.
would be a junkie scratching in the bush right now.
I think it does have heroin involved, right?
It
It's
must do.
dangerous.
It
It's a
must do. In
gateway.
the balls,
Yeah.
it's laced. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense because it's
Yeah.
like I go to Green Lake quite a bit, and it's like I can't believe there's a line like around the corner. Like part of me being like, no, I don't do that is I'm like, I don't think I get to do that. Like it's so competitive to even get on a court. And then when I get there,
Yeah.
I'd be like, how does it work again?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's
It's
wild how popular it
especially
is.
from when you did it as a kid to now, the
Yeah.
vast difference of how they play would be so different.
I mean, I'm probably
You
just
got like
about the same amount of
tennis.
goodness. Yeah, wow. It's really it's been so wild. Actually, one of my not
Yeah.
my class, but my colleague's class, someone's doing a pickleball set, like a fancy elite pickleball. Maybe you can be one of their
Ah.
testers.
Oh, they want to. I'll test it out
Yeah,
for them.
Yeah, I'll let
I
them
play
know.
it all the time. But
Sounds like.
anyway, what is your spirit animal?
I want them all to be my spirit animal.
Oh,
I love
right. I feel
animals.
the same way.
I gotta really think about this. Sorry. Feel like something wild for sure. Something that's like not tame. Um,
Mm.
maybe like a
Like
probably a
something you
monkey.
couldn't
I want it
pat,
to be
like
like a leopard or something, like stealth, but it's probably like a monkey, like a wild
like a
monkey.
monkey.
Yeah,
Did you travel to Bali in your travels?
I did. Yeah, I love Bali.
Did you go to what's it,
Ubud.
Ubud?
Yeah,
Yeah, did you go
Ubud.
there
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
all the
So cool.
monkeys?
Yeah.
That's what
Oh
I'm
man.
picturing the monkeys like. You know, they're like
Yeah.
kind of friendly, but then like they get close and they're like tricked you. I'm more like crazy than you think.
Yeah, 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 like a biting monkey. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, it's such a fun question. I'm gonna like I'll think about that, and then in the middle of the night I'll be like, Maddie, we have to re-record.
Yeah, we can record that question if you really feel it.
Yeah, yeah. I have to like just in case this is like the decision point, and then the next animal that I get reincarnated as is like I want to make sure I'm answering it right. Like
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a mosquito or
Do you
something.
know? Oh yeah, God, that'd be the worst.
Yeah.
If we were just talking about it, I think if I was going to be reincarnated, I think I'd want to be a killer whale
Yeah,
because
they
they
have
have to do
fun.
so much problem solving, even though they're like sadistic fuckers because they're like
Yeah,
killing things like sort of meanly. But
yeah,
like they have to solve issues and like, oh, how do we get that one? I'd be like, oh, all right, all right. How do we get
okay,
that one? You know?
yeah. It's funny because they are seen. Their name is it has killer in it, but they're still seen as such a like sweet, delightful, innocent little creature, big creature.
I think it's because they don't eat humans.
That could be it. That could be it.
And then like they're like, oh well, we don't if we don't eat those guys, they don't fuck with us that hard.
Should be
And
fine.
then
Yeah,
we'll just go over and eat this little baby whale. Yeah, it's so innocent.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But it's not like they're coming after our dogs or anything. It's like people are very like, what about my world? Do
yeah, exactly.
you have a spirit animal? What's your
uh,
spirit animal? I have to know.
I feel like I'm. So I do the same questions for like the 10 people, and
Oh, okay.
I wonder if this changes every time.
Yeah.
Um, so my spirit animal, what would it be? I so I really like keystone species. So the
Hmm.
beaver is a
Yeah.
keystone species, and so
Okay.
it's small enough where it makes a big impact.
Yeah.
Like so, like you'll build a dam and create this like huge impact on its environment. I love elephants because they're so grand, but I like echidnas, or a platypus because it's so bloody different. Like
Yeah.
who thinks you got like a beaver tail? You got a web foot. The male's got a spur on its foot that can poison you. It's got a beak.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, it's
swims,
weird.
but it lays eggs. Like it just does everything. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like somebody was
So
like, just I'm just gonna glue all these things on here.
yeah, yeah. Like so
It's fine.
I don't believe in God, but it's like they had all the leftover pieces, and just like was like,
Yeah.
what do I do? Quick,
There
quick,
we
quick!
go.
Oh yeah, that one's done. Move it on.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people won't ever even meet him.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the
uh,
platypus.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, what is something you say to yourself? I can't believe I did that.
Oh God. It's actually shorter to come up with a list of things, but I can believe I did. I've done like I've done a lot of bad karaoke is the first thing that comes to mind. Where it's like it's like, okay, sure, you're pretty good at like I can do like an Etta James or like a whole new world. Like that's great. I'm making good life choices, but at some point, like I get really confident in the way that I shouldn't, or like there's been too much drinking, and then I all of a sudden I'm like, put on Whitney, I got this. And the next morning I always wake up and I'm like, I didn't do Whitney Houston, did I? Because I cannot. Like, it's not even like kind of charming. It's like, oh gosh, that's embarrassing.
Oh no, my wife is actually tone deaf, I reckon, but she still feels that she can Um, she calls it harnessing, and I'm like, the only thing you should be harnessing is a horse. But she definitely thinks that she's got some. We were one time at a we go to these like what are they called? New Year's Eve like getaways with friends, or we used to do it years ago.
Fun.
And we'd all pick a theme for different nights. And one night we had silent discos, so we rented like headphones, silent discos. It has 3 channels on it, so like, oh, we're in. Some people are in hip hop. We're all dancing around, having fun. Take your headphone, have a little chat. But Madonna comes on, like a virgin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the girls go, channel blah, blah, blah. And they all get on that. And then all of us guys sort of go, hang on. Take our headphones off and we go, oh, we should not have done that. That shattered the glass. It was so bad. It was like cats having a fight, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like a great time, though. I love that.
It was. We had so many fun times like that, but it was killer. But stuff like we mentioned earlier, like I can't believe you've done 7 continents by the
like
age
kind of braggy,
30.
like a humble brag style.
Yeah, like well, what you can't like. So I threw the baseball pitch at the first ball at the Mariners game one time.
Really?
Yeah, but for me, like I'm not a big baseball fan. Like I've been to games and I enjoy watching it, but the fact that someone from where I grew up, like threw a baseball, is just insane. I just can't imagine. Like, it's unbelievable. Not that it's unbelievable for me, but it's just an unbelievable concept that could happen. Not a brag.
It's very unlikely. Yeah.
Yeah. Like.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I thought you meant like mistakes that you've made. I'm like, I don't even know.
No, because I could go on forever for that.
Yeah, like
I've made a billion of those.
Cool things that I've done. Most recently it was kind of funny. LG has a conference for internal innovation, and I think they're really cool. And so I was like, I would love to speak at your conference, and I pitched that I would talk about customer discovery, like interviewing people so that you know if your idea is a good one before you go run with it, which is one of my big beliefs about entrepreneurship, is like just have more conversations before you do it and you'll make better decisions. And they were like, great, yeah, we want you to come talk. You're going to be on a panel. And I was like, oh, cool. And they were like, yeah, the panel topic is AI tools for startups. And I was like, wait, like, what did I actually submit? I even asked. I was like, what did I submit to you? Because it was all about like really just sitting down with another human and asking them questions. And it was like, we're not trying to be controversial or anything, but like it'd be kind of interesting to have you on there with your opinions, and then like and it's like a room full of AI. Like everybody's starting an AI company now. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll represent the Stone Age. And why not? And so I got to be on that panel, and it was a lot of fun. And I studied a lot. I did every event that I could go to. I talked to every smart person I could find, and I read as much as I could on AI, so that I was ready for bringing up kind of the controversial side of like, these are the things that I wouldn't do with AI. This is where AI isn't going to replace, in a room full of people who are just like ready to devour AI everything.
Yeah. So how does that information like stick in your brain well, or are you having to like take notes and notes?
I'm definitely not like, oh, relay this stat or this data. That's not me, but I can look at themes really well. And so I was more looking at like, broadly speaking, this is what's interesting, and this is how you should be thinking about it, and this is what questions you should be asking. So that stuff is good.
What was your takeaway from that?
So it was kind of interesting. I started talking to people about, I actually just shared my journey. I was like, this is how I got here. I started asking people like, what can AI not do? And I quickly realized that that's not an interesting question, because it can pretty much do just about everything. And if it can't, then it will. It's like, it's a non-applicable question. And so I changed the question to, what do you not want to do with AI and why? Because you find human values in that. Like, if you say that you don't want to have an AI therapist, that's interesting, because what if it has everything that a regular therapist would have? Like, there's no practical reason not to. But there's that feeling of like, or like I get a lot of like, I don't want to listen to music from AI. I want humans to do the music that I listen to. Um, and so everybody has these sort of like, they're kind of funny, arbitrary boundaries, but it's like you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your soul. Like I'm not comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
And for me, it was customer discovery. Like I don't ever want to replace talking to people and understanding their problems, even if a computer could predict what those problems probably are. I want to I
Yeah.
want to understand everything about their, everything that surrounds it. Like what's keeping you up at night as a human, and I don't want to
Yeah.
replace
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
I actually
that was my
think that
take.
I'm with you because I think that, like, from an art perspective or a creative perspective, it's going to be our mistakes that make us more unique. So if someone's
Yeah,
doing a paintbrush, instead of having it being a perfect line, and there's that little bit of wobble, be like, oh my gosh, that's them. Like they pressed a little bit too hard there. Like, and I'm sure they could, at some point, art's going to be able to replicate that at some point. But
yeah,
seeing people like perform live and enjoying that, like, there's going to bring that element back, I think, a little bit, because people are like, oh yeah, okay, cool, that AI person can write that draft of that really well, but how did this happen, or why are these people acting this way, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what's their
yeah.
take on it? Yeah.
But it's a choice that you're making. You're like I like that it's a little bit flawed, and it's I don't know. I find it so ironic that we're all kind of trying to be perfect, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
in the end, that's our value is that we're flawed. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's
Yeah.
kind of beautiful and ironic, and it's
I
like really makes you forces you to think about the
I
human
fully agree
condition.
with that. What do you use AI products right now?
Like very like high level. I'm quick to be like, let's see what Chat GPT says about that. And I had them make a
Yeah, yeah.
logo, and the logo is fine because it's like I'm looking for a quick generic. It's not going to be my next venture. It's like a little pet project.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'd still rather work with a designer, and the stuff that I'm getting feels pretty generic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think I mean it will keep getting better, and we'll
Yeah,
see.
this is the worst it's ever going to be, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So it's always going to get better.
yeah.
I fully agree. Yeah, I use the same sort of thing. Like my copywriting skills, as you know from all the emails that I probably sent that were fucking terrible. Uh, I use ChatGPT and I'll be like, this is the kind of concept, and then I get in there and I like tweak it a little bit, and then get it to refine it a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But a lot of like the scripters and stuff like that that I'm doing, people aren't gonna, they're gonna look at the pictures and not read the words or whatever. So that's how I view
Yeah.
it.
And I
Uh,
really like words, so I don't let them I wouldn't let it write for me. That's one of the I'm happy to
yeah,
see like what points do you bring up, but I don't want it to write it
yeah.
for me.
Do you know what? I was going to be teaching an art lesson over in Kirkland Art Centre, and
Cool.
I said these are the points I want to run. How can I fill these out? And then I went through and it's added stuff, and I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, great, I'll keep that and tweak that. So I used it to uplift my base standard of what I had, but then also it took away I took away things that it had. So just refined
Yeah.
it a bit.
Yeah, I
I
think that's
feel that.
perfect. Very cool.
Uh, who is your go-to person?
This one I definitely have to say Paul. Are you listening, Paul? Yeah. Um,
Paul.
I mean, it's kind of amazing. You've been married for a long time. I haven't been married that long. We've been together for 6 years and married for 3.5. Um, but going through pandemic together and parenting together, it's like they really do become like just they're your person.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's like
that's
you've been
marriage.
through like a traumatic experience together. You know what I mean? Like,
We definitely have.
especially the pandemic when we were in Australia is like, other than not being able to travel outside of Australia, our lives were pretty normal. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like we were stuck inside for months and stuff like that. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's nice.
we didn't feel that, but I definitely feel you. Like the parenting, once you go through, like my wife is my go-to person, but my best, like I've got three, four best mates, but one sparkles where I could be like, I can say anything to him and like we can just talk through, or like just pick up. if he called right now, I could say like some sort of dumb shit, and we'd just be right on like, and a bunch of
Yeah.
my friends, but those two are my like go-to people. Like I could give him my, oh, actually, I could give all four of those my bank account card, but my just the trust level with like him and her and all that sort of stuff. We've just been through so much that
Yeah,
I feel.
it's really sweet. It's really lucky. But there's to answer your question in a truly authentic way. It's like it really depends on what we're talking about. Because there's always like if somebody gives me like a curveball entrepreneurial question, I have a
Yeah.
short list of people who I'm gonna be like, let me get you a beer. I gotta know. What do you think?
Oh,
And
that's
they'll
a good
drop
point.
everything and be like, I'm super busy, but I'll of course, and vice versa. And then my dad's kind of the person who always just totally from the beginning understands why I would feel something. Um,
Yeah.
so it's always nice to call him and like if I'm going down some path and I'm like, what am I doing? He's like, of course you're doing that. It makes sense. He just like
That's cool.
you know
That's
because
really
it's sort of
cool. I guess that's the way I would think about it. Outside of your partner, I should
yeah
have answered this. Outside of your partner,
yeah
who is your go-to person? Because I would have just thought of it like, oh, Sparkles is my go-to person, but yeah, you're right. Like if there's someone, I wouldn't go to him for certain questions. Like you would go to someone for like your entrepreneurial questions. Be like, hey, let's go to ask this person because they know about that or this. Yeah,
yeah
I like
yeah. And
that.
I think it's kind of cool. It's like you have kind of a toolkit, and you're like, if I have a mom question, I have mom friends, and I'm like, okay, is
Yeah.
your child crazy right now? We're potty training. So like I'm like, are you getting urine all over your house right now? So
You're like,
it's nice.
yes, but that's because I'm just peeing everywhere.
Yeah, in addition to him, it's me and the dog and Paula. We're all just being everywhere.
We're trying to mark our territory. I know, I own
Yeah.
that. No, you don't.
Yeah, it's fierce in there.
um, what is what's an unspoken social rule that you love or hate?
Can you give me an example of an unspoken social rule so I can play with it?
Yeah, for sure. I think this one's like when you're driving out in the country
And you
and you
wave.
give like a little wave.
Yeah,
So I love that rule, and I find
I
in
love that too.
Seattle or in Kirkland, if I like get off to the side, people don't wave.
Yeah,
Or in Australia, a lot people where I'm from in Australia, but it's just overall really there. People are a lot more chatty and like, oh hey, how are you? Like this, but in Seattle or Kirkland
yeah,
area, it's not as much. Even though they're lovely people, but and I think it's the weather and stuff like that. But that's the sort of like these sort
yeah.
of rules like that, or when you sit at a movie theater and so like it's all empty and someone sits right next to you, I'm like, well, pump your brakes there, big guy.
Hey,
Like
hey,
let's
hey.
give it, let's move one over. Like you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
this is my
Or like
row,
yeah, exactly. Like
especially
those
with
are the
COVID.
rules where we all know them. Like
Yeah,
the airplane rule where like the middle person has the armrest, the window person has the window, the person can
yeah.
get up, but that's the unspoken rule.
I hate it when people don't know that middle one, where you're like,
I
really, you're
know,
gonna
right?
like both take my armrest, so I have nothing. I'm just like this.
Oh,
Um,
I was one time traveling from Australia to from LA to Australia, I think it was, and I was between like I'm 6 foot, 6'1" if I stand up straight, and I
mhm.
was sat between two guys that made me dwarf me, and I either had to sit in front of them like this because their shoulders were so big.
Oh,
They weren't trying to do anything like wrong. They weren't like
yeah.
we're the toughest. They were just like sitting there. So I either had to sit forward or I had to sit
Oh,
wedged behind their shoulders,
oh
behind
my
it.
gosh.
But I will say that was the best sleep I've ever had sitting up because my body couldn't do like
It's like,
when you
how-
can't like it like wants to slop down. You're like, oh my neck. I was like had
yeah.
a neck pillow on. I was wedged in. I was just like, oh okay, this is okay.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Middle seat all the way from Australia is crazy. Um,
Yeah.
I like what comes to mind is like the way that people hug each other when they first see each other and when they say goodbye. Like even if you're not like particularly huggy people, it's just like that's sort of the like there's not a lot of handshaking anymore. It's mostly just hugging. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it could start as a
So,
handshake and then at the end it's a hug. I love that too.
so I love the like that we know the time of the hug, like,
Yeah.
and you get those people that are outside the boundary where it's too quick,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, all right, all right, or
Okay,
it's too
hold
long, you're
on.
like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I
I,
used to have a cheerleader friend, and she would come at me like she was gonna give me the biggest, best hug in the world. She had this like such an embracing, like, oh my God, I'm gonna like wrap you up in love. And then I would like, okay, I'm like, okay, okay, we're gonna do this. And then she would be like, "Tit, tit." And I'd be like, I'm already in. I'm like, now I'm just holding on to you like a
yeah,
creepy person.
I'm like
Like,
waiting for the embrace. I want the
yeah.
warmth.
Yeah, I'm like, I've wrapped my little monkey arms all around you, and now I just look like a weirdo. Yeah, yeah, I don't like
I
that.
have an
That's in my
auntie
not like
who,
good.
yeah, I have an auntie who I just adore, and we always joke because she like when she pats, she'll do like pat pat, like as in like job's done, like but like real quick. And so I always joke like it's like with her like if she doesn't give you, that's her like almost like love you like tap, but it's usually so quick, and I'm like, oh yeah, pat pat, like and we're friends that we haven't seen each like we've just met
Yeah,
first day sort of thing.
right. Like, give me a real
Yeah,
hug. Come
I
on.
love. Yeah, exactly. um, what are three things that you were grateful for?
Oh, I'm grateful for so many things. Um,
I love that.
it's hard for me not to be
You
like,
don't have to say family.
oh,
Like,
yeah, okay, okay, yeah.
yeah,
Just like nuanced things, not like in any sort of order.
yeah.
I'm really grateful. I have a little office in downtown Ballard. I live in Ballard. And during COVID, I had the room, which turned into the kids' room, and it's like
Yeah.
I need to be out of the house and I need to have a separate space. But I've always hated like the open floor plan of any sort of real job.
Uh,
And so I have
yeah,
my
yeah.
own four walls. Um, and my mom was an artist. She passed away a couple years ago, and I just did an art show for her. So I have like art everywhere, and it's kind of a mess. And it's like,
Oh, that's so cool.
but it's like my space, and it can be messy or not. It's like a little fort. And I'm so grateful just to have space, and it's like right above my favorite tea shop. It's good. Um,
That's. Are
that's
you more of a
one.
tea person than a coffee person?
I hate coffee. Yuck.
Oh, you and
So
me both.
yeah. Oh, you got to come to
Yeah.
Miro Tea in Ballard. So good.
Well, I would say this. I'm a boring tea person. I only
Okay.
do English breakfast,
Okay. I love English. Yeah, you're
and
so Australian.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I put like a shit ton of sugar in it because I'm a child, like an idiot. So,
Do you do the Tim
uh,
Tam Slam, or you put the little cookie in and
I
suck it like a straw?
I have done that so many times in my life. It's
So good.
now I do it because it's hard. I'm now gluten free,
Oh.
so I do gluten free Oreos, and so I
Oh,
have
okay.
to I
Not the
dip
same.
those a bit. It's not the same though. No, makes me sad.
Man,
But
I might.
okay, so we got
Okay,
your
that's
little
only
four
one.
walls.
Yeah, I got my four walls.
Yep.
Um, I'm I'm just really grateful for a lot of people in my life. Like one of the things that I think I do well is I build community well. And so
Oh,
like
cool.
anytime that I've felt stuck or alone, I've just built a community around it.
Yep.
So I talked about being a mom, like it was during COVID and it was really lonely and I thought that I would have all this social activity, but it was like, no, you need to be locked inside the house. And so
Yeah.
I started meeting other women who were doing prenatal yoga online also and being like, every Sunday we're going to walk at 10 a.m. Meet me at Green Lake. And now, like
Oh,
years
cool.
later, we're still all really close friends.
Oh, that's
Same
cool.
thing. My mom passed away, and I'm an only child, and so I had all this grief, and I felt very alone in it. And then I was kind of creepy. I was like the person on Facebook being like, I see that you're also experiencing a loss, and you seem very sad. Like, why don't we be friends? And then it kind of became like
Oh,
this little
wow.
grief group, which is now just a fun
Wow.
group. Yeah. So I'm grateful for
That
community.
Yeah, that's amazing. I probably would have just squished it all down and been like, "Nah, I'll be
Good,
good. I'll be good. That'll be fine."
I'm
My
good
heart's
now.
like, "No, I can't take any more."
Yeah, no, I'm like, let's lean into it. Like all about like why don't we cry again? um, so
So that must really help with your networking then, through like all your
yeah,
businesses, like of wanting to sort of build a community and then putting the effort in to maintain those.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's easy because it is really time consuming and it's like
It
you're
super
you
time
know
consuming. Yeah.
it's hard to juggle it all, and you can't. But yeah, I mostly enjoy it. The nice thing about networking is that I'm like, it's not like, here we go. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. 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 All right. So
And then my
one more.
third thing, oh, yeah, I just gotta say, like my little creatures, my animals. It's just like I have a cat who like sleeps with his face next to my like cheek to cheek. Like it's just so nice, and the dog, somebody wagging their tail when you come home, like all that stuff
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
really good,
I love my dogs. Yeah. So
right?
cute.
So
Yeah.
good.
They're basically like, I think of dogs like, I don't know if you ever seen the movie like The Golden Compass, and they have this like spirit animal that walks with them, and that's how I think of
Oh,
dogs. But I'm like, this is basically just like my mate that comes along. And so
yeah.
I've got one dog that's super cuddly, like wants to be cuddled all the time, and I got another dog that's like, she likes being cuddled, but she would like much rather to wrestle and play. And I'm like, this is both of my personalities in one, in two, just sort of like
Yeah.
cruising along with me wherever they go. So
Yeah,
I
it's
love it.
so fun. Yeah.
All right. Last
Pictures.
question. We can
Okay.
wrap this up. You can be like, thank fuck this is over. Uh,
Thank fuck. That's the thing I'm
you have
grateful
to wear.
for. I want to change my gratitude is that it's over. No.
You have to wear a shirt with a slogan on it for a year. What does it say?
Am I trying like am I trying to convince people of something, or it's up to me?
It's up to you. You can do whatever you want. You'd be like, Val's the best. You could be.
I feel like maybe it's because I'm doing so much networking right now that it's like probably just try to promote my company. So Vimeo Consulting, call me. um, that's like the lamest answer right now. I don't
No,
know. It's hard for me not to be like, yeah, like do you push it like an agenda on everybody? Probably not. Like I don't have a quote. Like know thyself is the best advice I've ever gotten. But like, do I want to wear that on a shirt every day? I don't know. Yeah.
sorry, say that again. I missed that last one.
Oh, know thyself. Um,
Oh, know
is one of my
thyself.
favorite pieces
Okay,
of
yeah,
advice. But like, I'm not gonna wear that on a shirt every day. I don't. I don't
yeah.
know. I probably have to explain. I'd probably be like, this shirt is required for me to wear every day. Like, I just need you to know that. Because otherwise, everybody I'd be like, I know I'm wearing the same shirt I wore yesterday and the day before and the day before. It's this weird thing that Maddie, it's like a curse that Maddie put on me. I don't know.
He had to. I have to do it. I don't know why. Yeah, I feel you.
I just have to. Only
Yeah.
56 days left.
Basically, it's what it is. It's just a calendar. One more day done. One more day done.
Yeah. Yeah, I get like a marker. It comes with a marker.
Yeah.
I
That'd
like
be a
it.
fun shirt to do.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a great idea. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, Val, thank you so much. It's been awesome to catch up with you. I'm so stoked on everything that you sort of got going on with your consulting firm, your teaching, your little munchkin running around, Paul, who's your go-to person, and just so amped. And I'm glad that we got to do this. It was really fun.
Thank you so much. It has been really fun, and I want to actually just hang out with you in person sometime. I was bummed that it ended up being virtual, but
yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I can drive over to Ballard and catch up. Yeah, I'm pretty flexible as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it. Okay.
Yeah. I'll have an illustration out to you in the next
Cool.
couple of weeks, and when this all comes up, and I'll send you like a link and all that sort of stuff. And that I have no idea what the illustration's going to be. I never do, and so there'll be a few sketches and brainstorms on this end. And
Fun.
So, yeah, I hope that you like it.
How can I already know that I will. How can I further support you in this? Do you need cool people intros, or like should I? What can I do to
never
help?
really think about that. If you think there's anyone that wants to be on there, I will literally interview anyone as long as they're not a bigot of some sort that I'm propagating their shitty agenda. I will interview anyone. This I have found is I'm just so interested in anybody's story, and I feel like everybody has a story, and I feel like if that happens, so if there's interesting people and you're like, hey, yeah, this person would be great to interview, shoot them my way. I'd love it.
Okay, that's so fun. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind and make an intro. See if I can put somebody
Yeah.
in the hot seat besides myself.
Well,
Thanks again.
I'm so stoked, and
Yeah,
I can't wait to get this out, and I can't wait to hang out in person.
yeah, likewise. I'll see you soon then.
All right, cool. Catch you later. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Bye. Hug.